All right, everybody, welcome to the first episode of Enclosed Cosmology Fellowship Roundtable. Today, we're just welcoming everybody here. We'll be giving some testimonies about where we came to truth, why we want to be here, some of the interesting topics that we're excited to talk about and bring to the roundtable, and just generally have a chat and a nice way to grow. And iron sharpens iron, and that takes heat and friction and the removal of material. So we're here not to be offended, but we are here to share our own testimonies and our own feelings about different subjects, including closed cosmology, including the Bible and Scripture, conspiracy theories, and all the work. So thank you for joining us once again. We're going to get started off with our first testimony. That's going to go through that's going to be with Awkwardly Awesome. So welcome, Awkwardly Awesome. We'd love to hear your testimony.
Hi, thanks for having me. I really appreciate being here. My name is Regan. I I came to a spiritual understandings at a very young age. I was around years old, 4 or 5, when I kind of accepted Christianity as because that's what I was raised with, and that's what I was told was the truth. And yeah, my parents. I live up in northern Canada here, in just a little bit east of Dawson Creek, British Columbia, over on the Alberta side. Um, my parents were farmers originally, and we had 3 crop failures in a row back in the 80s, and they decided to be missionaries. So they packed us all up and moved us across the country over to Ontario. We went through some training there, then moved to the States for a bit, and then we came back home for a little while and moved to Papua New Guinea after about 9 months back here. I spent the next out of the next 8 years, I spent 7 years there in Papua New Guinea. We did all kinds of things. My parents did supply work where they would send groceries and trade goods and stuff for the local stores into different tribes. We lived in a tribe ourselves for a while, and they tried doing learning the language and the culture and translating the Bible and doing all that. But around 14 years old, I developed a heart condition, or I'd always had it, but it started causing problems at that time. It's called Wolff Parkinson White syndrome, and it would just give me a really fast heartbeat for about an hour and then wipe me right out. So we came back home a little bit earlier than we were scheduled to, and it was a rough transition. I got in with they sent me to the Christian school in Dawson Creek, which ended up being kind of like the last skid out of town for any of the problem kids who couldn't go to the public school or any of the other schools. And so I kind of fell in with the wrong crowd there. I started smoking cannabis at about 18 years old, and I did that for the next 22 years. I just stopped actually in January this year. Um, During that time, I did any drug that I could have come across. I had a lot of emotional hangups, and I masked them with drugs and alcohol and partying and just generally living the hedonistic life. Um, I had a bunch of failed relationships, made a lot of money, lost it all, lost my house, and by around 38, I was living in a cabin on my parents' land, and life wasn't very good. So I made a commitment. I was listening to a podcast with Pat Miletich, where he had given himself 2 years to win a championship in the UFC or in whatever fighting arena or company he was in at that time. And he said if he didn't win it at that time, he was going to put a bullet in his head. And I thought that I was kind of at that place myself. So I made a similar commitment. And not to get too much into the details of it, but 2 years went by, roughly. I didn't set a date, but 2 years went by, and my life hadn't gotten any better. It, in fact, gotten quite a lot worse. And I had my 40th birthday, and I sat down. I think it was the day after or 2 days after, and I thought, okay, well, you said you were going to do this, and I told my family that I was going to do this. This was not going to be a surprise to anyone. I hadn't told them, like I said, I hadn't picked a date. I hadn't told them when, but I sat down and I said to myself, okay, when are you going to do this? So, are you going to check out first thing in the spring here, or are you going to wait until, get through the summer, spend the last summer with your family, and then, leave this plane when it starts getting cold around here? And I sat there struggling with that decision, and I mean, the gun was sitting 10 feet away. I could have just, 7 feet away. I probably could have just leaned over without even getting out of my chair if I would have really stretched and grabbed it and done it right then. But I came to the conclusion that if I could throw my life away, I could give it away. So I just prayed at that time. I reached out to the Creator and I said, "Hey, I've had a very interesting life. I've had a lot of good times, but life has kind of got too much for me. So if you have a plan for me, um, just take my life and do something with it, because I've turned it into garbage. It's like an '82 Ford Bronco with only 3 wheels and a ski attached to the brake drum. Like there wasn't too much happening for me." And so I had that moment, and I got up and I felt better. I probably smoked a joint. That's why I was sitting in that chair. And I just kind of went back into my life with the conviction that I was not going to kill myself, and I was going to give God a chance and see what exactly He could do. And at the same time, I told him that like, I'm single. I've been single here for quite some time, and I said to him, like, I'm okay being single. I've gotten used to it. It's not like it's the end of the world, but I would like to have a wife and
You're breaking up on us. Awesome. So if you want to start back where you were mentioning your children,
yes.
having your wife and children, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, no, my brother was just trying to phone me there. I had to hang up on him there. So uh, I said, if you have somebody for me, you're gonna have to drop her in my lap, because I'm done chasing. I'm done looking, running to the Creator, and yeah, help me out. So 2 days after that conversation with God, I was out cutting firewood, and I worked really hard. There's a little log block right across the road from my house, and I was walking in there, cutting down trees and carrying them home. And I I would just work myself right to the end, right to the bone, right to the bare bones. I was done. I came back inside. I opened up a jar of bear meat, and I was gonna make stew with it, and I was so tired. I was just like, no, it's not even happening. So I ate that, and I sat down on my bed, and I was gonna play some video games. And by the time the laptop booted up, I was almost asleep. So I was like, okay, well, don't burn up the batteries. I live off grid. So I was like, okay, just shut the power down, go to sleep if you're too tired. So I did that, and I woke up a couple hours later with some pain in my chest. And it turns out I was, I won't get into all the details of it, but it turns out I was having a heart attack. So um, we got me to the hospital. I spent 5 days in the hospital in Edmonton. They put in a stent. They got everything under control, and they didn't have to crack my chest open or anything like that. But during that time, I was online a lot because I was bored and I was in the hospital. It was COVID. I couldn't have any visitors or anything like that. And I started talking with this woman, just a couple, comments on her posts, and yeah, it didn't seem like anything big. But on the day that I went home, my friend Russell had an online birthday party, which is April 9th. And I popped into there, and this girl was there, and she checked out, 2 minutes after I got in there, but I spent 10, 15 minutes chatting with Russell. But I was at my brother's place with the nephews and niece, and so I checked out early as well. But he started up a messenger board or a messenger chat group chat for his birthday, and I I didn't leave it. I didn't chat in it that much, but I didn't leave it. And it would ding, and I'd open up Messenger, and it'd be like, "You have 75 unread messages." I was like, "Oh, whatever, you know." But about a month and a half went by, a month or so maybe, and I got bored. And one night I jumped in there, and I started chatting, and there was just an instant connection between this woman and I, and we chatted a lot. Uh, we've been told that we were the kind of the core of the birthday chat, and things just kind of took off from there. We started dating online because she lived far away from me, and I just, it was basically like that situation I'd asked God for, where I, just drop her in my lap. But I had a lot of things going wrong still in my life. I was still smoking pot, 10, 15 times a day, drinking a lot. And as we were dating, I realized that I was losing her. Like things just probably weren't going to work out. So I reached out to God again, and I asked him to make the man that could not only have her, but have her and keep her. And less than a week later, she broke up with me. And at that time, I dug into truth and my spiritual journey, and everything just kind of really kicked into high gear. And so since then, I've grown by leaps and bounds. It's been, I did a few online courses and a few seminars, and I felt like I did 20, 25 years of growth in 3 or 4 months. And since then, the growth it's felt to me anyway, like it's slowed down, but it's felt more like kind of the final stages of dealing with something, like of making something, where at first you chip away big chunks and large pieces of the original stone, but as you get towards the end, the cuts that you make and the movements that you make with the tools are more about polishing and finishing. And so that's kind of where I feel, it's not like I'm a finished product, but it feels like that at that stage of this part of growth in my life is more about polishing and finishing at this time rather than the rapid growth and the massive changes. And yeah, she doesn't talk to me anymore. Things are not rosy there, but I still believe that God has a plan for me and uh, has you know someone for me out there, and I'm just willing to trust in what He's got for me and move forward with that. So that kind of takes me up to where I am here now. I just it all took off on me, you know, in a hurry. But here I just kind of am. And I guess as far as where I came to truth, it would have been at 9/11. 9/11 made me realize all the lies. About 10 years later, I dug into the financial end of it and started looking into the Federal Reserve a little bit. But fractional reserve banking was what really caught my attention. And then insurance was another thing that came up in a big way for me. Just seeing how insurance works and how it controls the lawmaking and the different processes, in court and in legislature. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm, leaving myself open to the Creator to give me, insight into where I should go and what I should do. And it's led me here. So uh, I, I could probably ramble on a little bit longer, but I think I'm just going to cut it off there and say thanks for having me, and look forward to meeting you guys more.
Well, thank you so much for that. Awkwardly awesome. It's really cool to hear your story and kind of get to meet you more and a little in depth. So if anyone has some questions or they want to point anything out about a story, now would be the time. I guess I'll start off. So, um, it's being, and I'll get into this more in my own testimony, but I can totally understand your desire to want a partner. I definitely think that y'all made us creatures that want that other side fulfilled of us. And I definitely believe that if you keep on Yah's path and you keep him the focus, then those desires that you have will be manifested because he desires that same thing for you.
Well, awesome. Thank you very much. That's what my heart tells me as well. So I'm just moving forward in faith and letting each step open up as I take it, because it's I stepped off the cliff a while ago and I didn't fall. And every time I take a step, firm ground opens up under my feet, even though I don't see anything there. So I'm just continuing that journey.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'd like to. I kind of um, relate to you a bit. I live in the wilderness myself, um, far away, and I don't see people sometimes for a month. But as far as like because I'm single and I've been in a few relationships, and then I've asked for some, and then I'd get them, but it's like God will give us our heart's desires sometimes, even though it's not the best that He has for us. And sometimes I've desired some things that I just was wanting to fulfill my flesh, and God let me have my heart's desires. I mean, out here in the middle of the wilderness, where the odds are way, way wrong for that. But turned out to be a learning experience, and I was like, wow, I was like really fleshly minded and everything, about this, even though I've always tried to be spiritually minded and fulfill that too. But I think our heart's desires is something that we need to focus on and figure out, put him first, then ourselves second, and what we want. But I loved your testimony. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, thanks for the input there. I agree with you 100%. It's these days, whenever I ask God for anything, I say, let Thy will be done, not mine, because uh,
Good point. Yes,
I,
that's a good. Yeah.
because I live by my will for my whole life, and like I said, I made a lot of money, for a while there. Like I live in Canada, so my amounts all come in Canadian dollars, but I was making between 125 and $200,000 a year, and I just put it up my nose. I drank it. I ate more than I should. I spent my money very foolishly, and it yeah, and I don't have two nickels to rub together from all that time, so when I had my heart attack, I said one of the things that changed is I said I'm no longer going to live according to my mind anymore. Trouble in school, I I was spelling at a college level by fourth grade. And so I wasn't a problem to the teachers, and I didn't get to develop the study skills that I should have had to carry me through once I wasn't able to just pick up the information immediately, like in post secondary. And so I just decided to scrap all that. And I said, no more am I going to be living by my mind. I'm going to live by my heart. And that was when things really turned around for me and brought me to this far better place that I am now.
Well, that's
Right
awesome.
on.
All right,
Yeah.
so if we don't got any more questions, we're going to move on to our second testimony. That's going to be through Anthony Dickinson. So if you're ready, sir, go ahead and we'd love to hear it.
All right. I don't know how much of a testimony this will be, but I'd like to at least speak about my journey. Um, I've been pretty much raised up in church my entire life, ever since I was able to go to church as a baby. My mom, my grandpa, my grandma. I mean, I've always been in church, and you know, hearing about Jesus and the scriptures and everything, it was never anything new to me, and it kind of grew old to me in a way. Uh, I dropped out of school when I was 17. I think I was 17, and moved in with my dad, and I kind of got on drugs a little bit as well. That's what all my friends were doing. I had to kind of meet new friends because I moved out of town, didn't know anybody, and that's what all my friends was doing. I kind of got tied into that lifestyle, and it lasted about 3 years, and then I moved back home to my where I was raised up, in Southwest Mississippi. Uh, Several years went by, and I ended up getting married, had 2 children, and one particular night we were riding four-wheelers. It was my brother and my brother-in-law and his girlfriend and my wife and myself, and it was two more people. I don't remember who it was. And sometime during the portion of riding that trail we was on, we stopped to just have a little get together, just visit for a little while. But everybody just seemed real anxious to hurry up and go. So we did. We jumped back on the bikes and we rode some more. We stopped again, and I I think I might have been the one to mention it. It's like, did y'all feel like something was watching us out there? And then everybody just chimed in. Yeah, something was watching us. Like, we had a real uneasy feeling. So anyway, several years passed. Got a divorce. Uh, my kids were basically taken away from me, and there's no court in the country that's going to help a father keep their kids, especially when their ex-wife is moving all over the country trying to stay hidden. Besides the point, though, my brother texted me one night. He says, "Hey, you remember that night we were riding four-wheelers and we had that uneasy feeling like something was watching us?" I said, "Yeah, I do. I'll never forget that." He said, "Wonder what that was." He said, "Was it Bigfoot?" I said, "I tell you," he wanted to go hunt Bigfoot, hunt him down, trap him, kill him, whatever. So I said, "Well, I tell you what, let's do a little research first." So first thing I went to was YouTube, and I typed in how to find Bigfoot. And the very first thing it brought me to was this man named Rob Skiba. And he was, the search thing, it says he talks about Bigfoot and giants and biblical stuff, right? I said, well, I've known the Bible my whole life. And so I started watching the video. And this dude went to talking about a flat earth. I said, man, this guy's crazy. What is he talking about? He don't know what he's talking about. I'm fixed to prove him wrong in 5 minutes. Watch this. Well, 5 years later, this was in 2015 when he and Mark Sargent had a live stream together. And I didn't actually watch the live stream. I saw it a few weeks later, but uh, I actually watched that particular live stream. I said, this guy's coming out of the Bible talking about a flat earth. What is he talking about? I said, I'm fixed to prove him wrong. So about the next 2 or 3 years, that's what I tried to do. I tried to prove him wrong, and I found out that I couldn't. Not scripturally, not scientifically, not no way, no how. So I became what's known as a flat earther. A lot of people might laugh about that. I don't care. I kind of laugh at people being, believing in a globe where nothing can be proven about it. But besides the point, I met a few friends. I had to meet a few friends because once I realized that the earth was flat and I started telling people, hey, do you know the earth was flat? Everybody around me said, they kind of wrote me off as the crazy person in town. I'm just the crazy person. So I actually had to make different friends. And I ran across this guy named Paul. He's got a YouTube channel called Paul on the Plane. He and I, we got to be pretty good friends. We talked quite a bit. And we decided we would start a Facebook group. And at first we named it, I named it. I don't know if anybody else really agreed with it. I named it Flat Earth Christians. Because I wanted to show people that the earth was flat, but I wanted to do it through a biblical standpoint. Because I'm not a scientist. I'm not real good with science. But I wanted to show people through a biblical standpoint that the earth was indeed flat, stationary, covered by a dome, set on pillars, which the sun, moon, and stars were placed in on day 4. Well, it never really went anywhere. I think we had like 200 people in the group, and it was just kind of dead. And I ran across a few more people, made them some moderators, and they started inviting people. Numbers jumped up big time, but a lot of people didn't like the name Flat Earth Christians. And now I don't particularly like the name either because I don't adhere to Christian religion or any religion at that now. But the numbers jumped way up, and we started getting a lot of feedback in the group and everything. So um, I wanted to get the information out to people, and I didn't really know just how. I'm not really good with YouTube. I'm not really good with uh, different live platforms. I'm not really good with talking with myself to a video and stuff like that. So uh, my friend Daryl and I, we started talking on the phone. I met him through Rob Skiba's uh, YouTube channel, and it's kind of a funny story, but for a later date. But anyway, he and I got to talking on the phone, and we got into some pretty heavy conversations. And other people wanted to join in because our conversations were pretty good and wholesome and informative. So that kind of grew. People started wanting to contact us and be in the conversation and hear what we had to say and stuff. And it got a little hectic by calling people. So me and Daryl, we came up with the idea of starting a Discord, so people could just jump in and either just listen or chime in if they liked, you know. And so far, this worked pretty good. And anyway, um, I just want to be able to get the message out the best I can to other people. It's not just the flat Earth, though. See, a lot of people think, well, I know the Earth is flat, and that's the end. That's the most. Uh, that's the deepest cover up that there is or ever could be, and stuff like that. And they stop right there. They don't keep pushing forward to find more truth, find out what the veil is actually revealing to us. And then you start reading the Bible, and then you realize what these churchianity groups and all these religions, they say, well, uh, Yeshua came and died on the cross for us, so all the law and everything's done away with. But then you start reading about what Paul actually said, and what Peter said, and the prophets and everything, and Jesus himself, uh, that the law's not done away with. Well, I've been taught my whole life that it was, and not to even worry about it. And then all of a sudden, I start reading the Bible for myself, and I see that it's not done away with. That scared me. That really broke me down right there. How wicked that I had been my whole life after being raised up in the church in Christianity my whole life. I thought I was doing right, and then come to find out how wrong I actually was. Anyway, I broke when I found that out. I broke down and I literally cried. I cried for like hours. I don't even think I had another tear for weeks after that. But it not necessarily scared me, but it made me respect who Yah really was more than anything in my entire life ever had before. It was literally amazing to me. Um. Anyway, that's kind of my story. I know it wasn't a very long one, and it's hard to follow somebody like awkwardly awesome. He had an awesome testimony there. Really, about all I can really say about it.
Well, definitely thank you, first of all, for putting together the Enclosed Cosmology Fellowship um, chat. Like, most of us came here through various means, but, like, Yah works in mysterious ways, and He brought us all together to be able to come in here and chat about these things. And while this one is a little more just getting to know us and welcoming us to this, we'll definitely get into deeper things, later on. But the main thing that I wanted to kind of pull away from what you said is talking about that fear. And I get what you mean where it's not a fear, but when you are actually looking at straight in front of you, and you see that it tells us to fear God. And a lot of people think that's like, ooh, scary, scary fear, but it's more a reverence for Him, and realizing that you have been off the path when you thought you were on the path, and it's very humbling. And to even take that path is not an easy thing. It's definitely a cross to bear. So I definitely appreciate you for living in God's will, and just taking him where he led you. If anyone else has like to ask a question or a comment, please feel free to.
Well, I appreciate it.
Well,
Bear.
uh, you mentioned that part, and it just popped in my mind. Here's like a little kid of his daddy when he can't find his daddy, and, I think that's the scariest moment in a child's life. When they're looking for a parent and they can't find them. They're all lost.
Such a great point.
It really is a great point.
Yep.
I remember back when I was a kid, 5, 6, 7 years old, somewhere around there. I had never been left at home by myself before at that time. And my mom had gone to a baseball game. My dad was going to go, so I was going to ride with my dad. But he didn't realize that I didn't go with my mom, and he left me. And I was there by myself. It was very, very scary to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, my parents are gone. What am I going to do?
Well, awesome. All right. Well, let's move on to our next one. We're gonna have Daryl give his testimony, and then we'll move on from there. Go ahead, Daryl, when you're ready.
Okay. I'm up on my roof here in the wilderness in Alaska because I had to get reception because I wasn't getting earlier. But I pretty much grew up like you guys were saying, with the word and going to church my whole life, and I just thought that was, and then I started looking around and meeting different people that weren't in the church, and I kind of justified my stuff by scripture because I've been reading the Bible my whole life, and it said leave no stone unturned, and I looked everywhere, and I was finding out that God will let you, He gives you a big but He'll give you your heart's desires or let you have your heart's desires, even if they ain't the best that He has for you. And I certainly went that road, and I got confirmed and everything in Lutheran Church when I was young, and then I started off in drugs and sex and just really really messed things up pretty bad, um, and still thinking, hey, I'm looking, leaving no stone unturned. I started learning chanting Buddhist, learning the Lotus Sutra of Nichiren Soku Gakkai of America down in Arizona. I'd be sitting there chanting and stuff with them. I learned Taoist stuff. Learned all kinds of different things. Wicca and different things. And I've always been into nature. That kind of explains why I'm out here in the wilderness. Um, but so I took some really really bad turns, and it was just like tough to wake up one day and to realize how wretched I was, and I knew it was just a matter of time, because I was on drugs a lot, and I had locked myself in this apartment pretty much for about a month or so, and hadn't come out and hadn't talked to anybody, and I just knew it was just a matter of time before I fell down again, and I just knew I was going to fall, and I said, God, you have to help me. You have to, There's no way around it, I can't live like this. And I said, I'll go anywhere you want me to go. And before I could say another word, and I was going to say and do anything you want, whenever you want, but that wouldn't have been honest. What was honest was, I will go anywhere you want me to go, Before I could say another word, I heard North Carolina, just plain as day, like someone audibly sitting next to me. I'm like kind of freaked out a little bit. um, so I'm sitting there like, okay, I ain't done drugs in about a month, and I'm like, what's going on here, and this story just that's a whole nother testimony, but that would take a long time. But anyhow, I ended up going. It took me quite a while because I wasn't ready and I wasn't instant in season or nothing like that. But so the trip itself was just amazing. I mean, I could go on for hours on testimonies. Then I ended up living at a church for like 3 years there, and I went to a Bible college that they had, and learned a lot of stuff. But the trip on the way going there was even more intense because I was relying on him every step of the way, and it was just miraculous stuff. It was just simple little things, but miraculous. Like I said, it'd take a long time to tell you some of the stuff. Um, but I was there for about 3 years, and then up here in Alaska, my dad got hurt, and they called me and wondered if I could come up and help out. It had always been my dream to live up here, and so I came up and was helping out and everything, and I just started getting odd jobs and had some money enough to throw down on a piece of land, and there's not much land available right where I'm at, and a piece of land got available at the moment that I could afford, so I threw money down on it. But I'd been up here for a long time, and I started feeling like, man, like the guy, the guy that got the single talent in that scripture and buried it, you know, and I didn't have a good feeling about that. And I was praying and just hoping and everything, and it is kind of funny. Um, then this flat Earth thing came about, and I kind of gone there, introduced by Rob Skiba. Heard him talk about something else, and I'm like, oh, this guy knows some stuff. He's pretty smart. And so I looked him up, and I'm like, there's no way he's a flat earther. He can't be that stupid, you know. So anyhow, I started looking into that, and I watched the Amsterdam video, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I might be a flat earther too now. I laughed, I cried, I screamed, I yelled, and I started telling people nobody likes me no more around here. Well, they like me, but they all put me on a list, kind of thing. But not that there's only like 6 people here in the winter. So anyhow, I was on Rob Skiba for a long time, and just checking out the channel and stuff like that, and then I met Anthony, and that was like an answer to my prayers because I felt like a talent buried in the wilderness, and it was kind of funny how we met because he thought I was my other brother Daryl, and another guy named Daryl Lee. Is who he thought I was, and so he started talking to me like he knew me, and I thought, well, maybe he knows me from somewhere else, and we started talking, and then it was like, and we've been on the phone for like a year, sometimes all night long talking, and just praising y'all, and just having some really deep conversations, and so I didn't feel so much buried anymore, it was a blessing, and um. So we started talking and come up to the idea that hey, some of the stuff we say is pretty powerful. There's some deep conversations we should share, and with the help of other people, and I mean we started off just adding another phone call here and another phone call there, but like phone calls started getting difficult. Trying to get more people on and add and call and things like that. But anyhow, I'm living in a place that's just amazingly beautiful that I don't ever want to leave, but it's like I don't want to stay here either, buried. Tell you how important that is to me. And I just want to thank all of y'all for that and praise y'all. And that'll be that.
Well, thank you, Daryl. That's awesome to hear, and again, get to know you a little bit better. I haven't spent a whole bunch of time with everyone here, but we're gonna slowly grow this channel. And when we do new episodes, if someone doesn't get to share today, we'll definitely get to share another day. And then with new introductions of people into the round table, they'll get their testimonies later on in different episodes. But again, thank you for that, Daryl. Does anyone have anything they'd like to ask or say about Daryl's testimony?
Yeah, I actually want to ask, how was the experience living in a church for 3 years?
Well, I was actually living outside on the grounds. Well, actually, for one day, I was outside on the grounds, and then I did some just odd jobs around there, and I ended up doing some yard work. And the guy, house across the street was vacant from the church, and he was renovating into a halfway house for people to get out of prison as a kind of a ministry. And he goes, well, nobody's going to be here for a couple months. He's getting their house in order, and I could do some work there, and I'd be welcome to move in there. And he says the rent's $100 a week. And I go, okay, well, I have your money on Friday. And he's like, you're living on the streets. You ain't even got a job. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, no, I'll have your money on Friday. Anyhow, the next day, I got a job at Servview, which is a restaurant supply company there in North Carolina. And it's just amazing that I had his money on Friday, and we were having fellowships. And then finally, he's turned it into the halfway house, people getting out of prison. And I just wasn't feeling real easy at it right then, not liking the way it was going as far as like we had a sit down fellowship there, and it just felt like it was squashing me, and they weren't letting me speak. So anyhow, my parents lived in Florida at the time, so they needed a new roof. My brother came through there and picked me up, so we went to Florida and fixed the roof, and then I came back and asked me if I wanted to move back in the house. I'm like, no, no, no. So I ended up sleeping out on the grounds there for like about a year. I had a truck at the time then, and when I first got there, I didn't have nothing, but I ended up getting a truck and had it for a while. Started doing some odd jobs and different things, and um, ended up. Then I got a van, and I lived in the van for a while until it blew up, and then I was there for about 3 years, and then now I'm here, and it's an awesome place. Freedom Christian Community Center there in North Carolina in Charlotte. They're really missions based. Went to like I didn't go to Nicaragua, but I went to Mexico with them and stuff, and we did a lot of just amazing stuff, and a lot of different preachers came through there and stuff, and so there was a lot of just
I think you cut out.
eating. Oh, well, okay, so I was eating the word a lot, but I'm starting to ramble on. Pardon me. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Anyhow, yeah, it was amazing living there. Um, I had a lot of love, and people were loving on me, and Yeah, it was actually better not having the house and just living at the church there. It just I was so busy. I didn't really. All I needed was a shower and a meal.
Well, Daryl,
uh,
I just want to say something real quick, brother. Um, you've been a blessing in my life. That's for certain, man. For the last year and a half that we've known each other, brother, you have really given me strength and drive to dig into the scriptures even deeper than what I'd ever really thought about I would ever be able to do. And I want to tell you I appreciate everything you've done for me and in my life, brother.
I truly feel iron sharpens iron through you, Anthony. I've experienced that God has touched both of us through each other. Um, and it's funny because people crack jokes about me being the other brother Daryl and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden I was, and it ended up being a great blessing. Amazing.
It's so awesome the way that y'all works, and how, like, y'all's relationship has developed where it's brought in so many more people together. And I know y'all didn't know it at the time, but it's just awesome to hear the backstory of both of y'all and how y'all met, and how that tree has now literally bore fruit, that we're all getting to take from, and love on, and sharpen ourselves, and hope that we're sharpening others. And so, like, for me personally, I am sharpened to see that relationships, even over the internet, even over the phone, literally brings us closer on that path, and that righteous walk that we all strive to have with our Creator, our Father. So yeah, again, thanks for that. And not to cut anyone off, but we're gonna go ahead and move
Hey,
on.
really quick. I just wanted to say something, really quick between Anthony, AA is what we'll say, just make it easy, and Daryl. When it comes to especially like addictions and things like that, and just the troubles and strife that people have gone through in their lives, I would have never known any of this if we didn't have this meeting tonight. And there are so many synchronicities between all of us. It's just absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I just can't wait to get to know so much more about all of you because of this, that we are opening up with one another. And there are so many places that we connect on many different levels throughout my own life, listening to your own stories. And so yeah, this is absolutely fantastic, and I just had to say that. So thank you guys for sharing. It means a lot.
Aw- Awesome, and thank you for that. Definitely, thanks.
We definitely appreciate you being here.
Yeah,
We
awesome
love.
stuff.
All right, so we're gonna move on to our next testimony, guys. That's gonna be with Don. So me personally, just to throw a few words out there, I just met Don today, and just up front, he was willing to help me and jump in, and try to and help me learn some things that
What
I
you
didn't
done?
know and that I was trying to do. So just from that right there, I can see that you have the right type of spirit, and person that we want to include in this group. So without any further ado, let's hear it, brother.
Amazing. All right. So I was gonna say, well, like I said before, it would take about 5 seconds, but I just want to add a couple things in there before I got to where I was gonna explain my 5 seconds. Um, when I was younger, I was raised by a single mother. So lived in the hood, went through the crazy stuff that, living in the hood takes you through. Um, Drinking, doing crazy stuff, getting in fights, have other personal things too I went through, but I don't feel to share that. Uh, then I got locked up, went to jail for a while, got out, and then I went to prison, then got out. I was just on a very lonely journey from my mother. The thing is, I was a big beta male. Like, okay, I don't know if you guys know what that means. I explained it down the way. Um, I was an extreme beta male. I was chasing after women for fleshly desires, lust, instead of like being a leader. I was more trying to be a follower, being a boy, or looking for a mother. like my mother, looking for another mother, kind of, if you will. But I had a lot of anger towards my mother, a lot of hate towards her, because I figured she was just turning me away from my father with her hate and anger instead of my own experience, because he was locked up in prison as well, most of my life. So I didn't know him like that. He got out and I met him a couple times, but we didn't go from there. I was still beta male at that time. I had a lot of anger and hate within me. I figured out along the way, I was like, man, something's not right. And then it finally clicked. I was like, man, I have my mother's identity. I had her anger, right? So I had to like go and forgive her and overcome her anger and her hate and everything that, her will that she opposed on me, and let that go and be free and return to my father. So the best way to summarize it is to say, like, I don't know if you guys know who Jesse Lee Peterson is, but the same path he went down is I can resonate with. Like, besides the plantation part and everything else, I noticed very well that racism, sexism, homophobe, all that stuff doesn't exist. It's just either you have love in your heart or you have hate in your heart, and it's spiritual warfare, spiritual battle. And the thing I have noticed too is like 2 Corinthians 10:5, cast down imagination and every high thing that exotic itself against the knowledge of God, and bring into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. So I figured out that when I got out of the world and I looked at it from the outside looking in, I realized that you are not your thought. Like, when your thoughts build you up to knock you down, or knock you down to build you up, like, you are not your thoughts, right? It's a spiritual battle. You don't know where they come from or where you go. God is not the author of confusion. He will, if he made himself present, you will know right away. Like, there would be no doubt. Like, with your mind, there's doubt. So I went from there. That's pretty much all I can say about all that. It's pretty tough. A lot of things are hard to handle on my journey, because I go down to a certain red pill type of thing where lust and everything. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys.
Like, thanks for giving us a little bit of your backstory. That's it's awesome to hear, and I see your perseverance and your enduring spirit, that you kept fighting on whatever came your way. And I know it was a struggle. I know it wasn't all rainbows and sunshine, and none of our experiences are. And being able to share those things lets us know that we're that much closer to each other than we may have thought before. And the division isn't as big as maybe we've been led to believe, or that we've, through our experiences in life, have kind of grown to believe. But one thing I wanted to talk out in particular, and something that's really stood out to me, is I went through a divorce in my life, and my parents were divorced when I was 5, and I'll get in a little bit of that more in my testimony. But that same anger that you had for your mother, I definitely shared very similar feelings. And it seems like you kind of found that too. Is the second most important commandment is to love thy neighbor as thy love thyself. And a lot of people focus on the neighbor part, and I'm not saying that that's not important. Obviously, it is, because it's a part of the scripture. But that's the loving thy neighbor is all um, based upon being able to love thyself, because it says love thyself, love thy neighbor as thy love thyself. And when you are able to forgive another person, you are actually learning to not only forgive yourself, but to love yourself, and see that you're set apart from those mistakes and those hurts and those feelings and that pain, and be able to move forward from it. So that, I love that, brother. And if anyone else has a
Definitely.
comment to say, please do so.
I just want to say, I completely can emote with the fact of having anger towards not just my mother, but my stepfather and my own father. And they had addictions and went to prison and did all sorts of things. And finding that there is still love there, and then finding the humanity within that. There's just something very beautiful in that, and realizing that we are all human beings. We all try our best. And yes, there are some that, sin greater than others, but especially when it comes to our parents, being able to move beyond that and become a better parent. One of the things that I always was taught by my parents, because they were addicts, heroin and crack, is they would tell me that I am not your role model in the sense of being a role model. I'm your role model of what not to be. And that really resonated with me. They taught me lessons, but not in the way that a role model, as per, the mainstream teaches you how a role model should be. They taught me what not to do, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. I feel you're right there. Definitely, and I can definitely get in more about that. Um, so right now, if you would like to go, Sarah, or if there's any other comments, go ahead. If not, if you think you're ready, Sarah, you can definitely give your testimony. If you would like me to go, and then if you're ready, then you can go as well. Just let me know either way.
I had another quick comment there. Those were some powerful words. That was an awesome testimony, but short but awesome is when you said that there's not racism and stuff like that. It's either you have love or you don't. I mean, like, wow.
Yep, it's simple, pretty simple.
Yeah.
God makes it easy. We just
Yeah,
make it hard.
absolutely. That was great. Thank you.
Yep, our imagination is just what makes it hard. Like we'll condemn ourselves and play God without even knowing it. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's easy. He makes it real easy.
Alrighty, what did you want to do, Sarah? Did you want to go ahead and give it, or do you want me to go and see if we can buy you some more time?
I can try and go. I mean, if I get interrupted because something happens with my son, then,
No worries.
just take over.
It is
But
what
yeah,
it
I
is.
want to feed off of that.
You're a mother, so we all expect it. So no worries there. Go ahead.
Understanding. And yes, the constructs that we play in our head, and um, just what we create, whether it be time or this and that race, whatever, like the love, it really does come down to that. So I don't know how far back I can go. I could speak for hours about my testimony. I could fill, 20 seasons of an Oprah channel with what I've dealt with in my life. But I will spare you guys the time and the nuisance of all that. For me, I grew up, I was born, my mother and father were both heroin crack addicts, and I ended up moving in with my grandfather. He adopted me and my sister, who was born from another father. It's very complicated, so I won't bore you all with the details again. But they adopted us, and he was actually a Freemason of the 33rd degree. And when he adopted us, he had to leave that entire fraternity because we took up too much of his time. And he ran the largest computer company started in Sacramento called Qubit, obviously his name. And he took us in, and we went to a Serbian Orthodox church, and it was all, spoken in Serbian, and I didn't know much. I don't even know that language whatsoever, but there was this community within it, and that community stuck with me my entire life. Like after church service happened, we would go into an entire humongous building, and we would feast, and we would play with horses, and we would it was just a very well-rounded community where everybody loved one another and got to know each other and everything like that. Well, that only lasted a couple years, and then I moved back in with my mother when she got out of rehab, and she found someone else, and she had my little brother, and that all fell apart, and I was molested by him. And there were many, many strifes and struggles that happened with that because he went to jail for that. And then my mother took him back, and we were living in hood houses, and I would have to beg for money for my brother to have diapers and all kinds of stuff. Like I had a very traumatic childhood. Fast forward, I still loved my mother no matter what. And people thought I was crazy for loving her after everything she had done for me. But I truly, there was something special about her. And we would have conversations along the lines of, she would tell me stories like, searching for God is like a fish looking for the ocean. And then when I got older, I would compound upon that and say, searching for God is like a fish trying to understand human civilization. And just odd topics like that. And we would talk about, the Bible. And she was a Christian. She did try and get better with her older ages, but she ended up dying of liver failure. And the day that she died is the day that I found Flat Earth. And that was August 20th of 2012. And when I went to where she was in hospice, after I'd been taking care of her for 2 weeks, I had finally gone home to get some sleep. And she passed away, of course, as soon as I left. She had passed away. I drove right back. The coroner came and picked her up, and I was with my little brother, and we were driving southbound in San Jose. It was August 20th, 2012, and it was an overcast morning at about 8 a.m. And I saw it at the same time my brother saw it, and he grabbed my arm so hard that I had a bruise for like 2 weeks. And he was screaming like, "What the F is that? It's a UFO." And I was like, "I don't know what it is. Like, what are we seeing?" And it was this miraculously perfect white circle in the sky that it looked like one of those 1980s slap bracelets where it was like a hologram. I don't know if you guys remember those, but it was like a hologram, and it had perfect pastel colors of every color you can imagine, like all over it, but it was perfect. And it looked like it was getting bigger and smaller, but we couldn't quite make it out. And so I ended up pulling over to the side of the road, and we were screaming at the cars that were going by, like, "How can you not see this? Like, look up. Is anybody ever going to look up? Like, this is insane." And then all of a sudden, after 5 minutes, it had to have even been longer of that than since we had pulled over. And it just, the clouds parted perfectly, and we were blinded, and it was the sun. The entire time we were able to stare at this object in the sky, and it had been the sun the entire time. So I went home and I got on my laptop and I started searching, and every road had led me to Flat Earth ever since then. And of course, towards more into the Bible and the creator and everything on this amazing, amazing realm that we live in. And it was kind of just like this nod to my mom that she, as messed up as she was, and as much as people, didn't like her and thought that I should never forgive her, that she had always led me to this road. And if I didn't listen to her and I'd seen that in the sky, I might end up like my brother is. And my brother is an atheist. He's a heroin addict. He has no more teeth left in his face, and he's living in San Francisco selling his body for drugs. Where I, on the other hand, have had numerous arguments with him and led a different path. So it's very fascinating how the same paths can lead people to different outcomes, I should say. And that moment in my life was a big moment for me. And to him, he just tosses it out like it was no big deal. Oh, it was just some phenomenon in the sky. But for me, it took me down a completely different path. And yeah, that was a lot. I wish I could talk about it for hours and hours. But that's kind of a little bit of my story and where I'm coming from. And yeah, God is great. This is a wonderful realm that we live in, and I really don't even know what else to say after that. I could go on forever.
Well, definitely thank you for, giving us, more insight into who you are and where you've been. And, it's so beautiful, again, like, just from your testimony, which I've heard before, in all honesty. And it's it's no less enjoyable, and it kind of brings me back to that first conversation that we had. And even though, like, in some of our ideas and our minds, we may be separate, but in actuality, we're all so close together. We're all so close. We live such similar lives, though, the story may have had a little bit of difference, and just to see, like, and I know all of y'all are thinking the same thing, like how similar our lives were, or how we took them, or how we decided to to make do with what was presented to us in life, and even if it beat us down at portions in our lives, to see that we're all here and we're all excited to not only start in this adventure together. And the cool thing about it is that, you know, this is a welcome. This is a getting introduced into all of us within this one video. But throughout this journey that we're all going to take together, you'll get to obviously learn about each of us differently. And to the people watching this, you'll get to see that just like us and our similarities and our trials and tribulations, how we can endure to the end, and that's the most important thing, to have that enduring heart, and to be and being able to be not prideful and be moldable and teachable. And like I said before, iron, you have to remove material to sharpen it. And so hopefully we can all be that, that shoulder to cry on, or that ear to hear when we're going through struggles, and that we can use each other to lift each other up even more than we've already done. So again, thank you for that. And then anyone else, please comment away.
I just wanted to say really quick also to touch on that is that it's not only just how much our stories are similar, but how similar the stories can be that can lead a person down a completely different path when they've been told lies. You know what I mean? Like, my brother is an atheist because he's like a total sci-fi fanatic. It's so amazing how different deceits in our childhood, and I don't know what it is, if it is just the eyes to see and ears to hear, or what it is that can lead different people down such different paths when they are so similar. You know, that is very fascinating to me.
I just want to say one thing.
Anthony, you're
Each and
roboting.
everybody's testimony so far, we've all
You're breaking up
been
us on us, Anthony. So if you want
in
to
some
step
pretty
into a
rough
better location so that
spots
we
in our.
can hear you, we'd love that.
Oh man!
I, I,
All right, yeah, I'm sorry. Is it doing any better
Nope.
now?
Nope.
well,
No.
while they
I
find
think I
the
got.
location, I'd like to say something.
Yeah.
Um, your brother isn't final outcome yet. Sometimes y'all take us places deeper and deeper than we'd ever thought, because he does give us our heart's desires, and we learn those and make choices and did some like prayer, and, and just that he experienced love no matter where he's at, and that love shines bright and opens up his eyes and opens up his heart, and um, at this moment, and we're grateful for him.
You're breaking up too now.
Yeah, no worries. If you want to go ahead and try to at least give us a little bit more, Anthony. If not, if you're still breaking up, try to get to a better spot, and then we'll just go ahead and move on.
How about now? Is it doing any better now?
You sound amazing. Go ahead.
I just was wanting to say, it sounds like from everybody's livelihood and what they've gone through in their life, we've all seen some pretty dark and deep places. And I do really believe that Yah lets us see those places so that we can know our enemy and see just how bad things can get. Because the places that we've
Amen.
been, it hasn't killed us, and I don't think Yah will ever allow anything like that to kill us. He's not going to put more on us than what we can handle, but he can show us some pretty deep stuff and some pretty dark stuff, or allow us to see it. Maybe I should say. That way we will know our enemy, and I do believe that knowing our enemy is half the battle.
Oh yes. I like to add a point to that to piggyback off of Anthony. Yes, 100%. And to Shines, I don't know if you have went and forgive the person that did what they did to you. You might have, I don't know, but it is best to do that. I'm telling you, so you don't carry that suffering. I have noticed that people become, usually, not all the time, but usually become who they hate the most, right? And they form that identity because they carry that hate around so much. They start realizing they picking up, not saying they're gonna do what they did, but they're just gonna start thinking that way, feeling that way, and acting. They carry that hate and anger, right? So when you forgive, right, God renews your mind and heart, right, and puts the law in your mind and heart, and you overcome that, and you get a new identity, right? Because when you're born of the flesh, you're born of the spirit. When you forgive, to be forgiven, right? That's when you're a new creature. You're totally new, and you just be. Now I know what you're talking about with your brother, right? He's an atheist. I know Paul said in Romans, if they don't hear your words, dust your feet off and just keep moving, right? Just dust your feet off. Don't carry that suffering, because that's the spiritual battle right there. 100% is your thoughts, your heart. That's where it's at right there, in your mind. Spiritual battle and within. I'm serious,
Don,
100%.
100%. And the thing is, and this is the thing that I have with outsiders that try and like look it on me and my family and what's gone on, is they're upset with me about forgiving my mother and my brother. I call into the methadone clinic like twice a week to make sure he's still showing up. Like, I love my mother. I love my, even after everything that she has done, I love her. I love my brother. I want him to come around. I want him to see. I want him to have ears to hear, and I will always be there for him. And I think that is very important for all of us to always remember that, because I hear people getting very upset, even if it just comes to Globers who don't get it. It's like, let's get back to that. Let's remember that we are trying to help them. You know what I mean? There is nothing but forgiveness in my heart for anybody, because that, for me, that is one thing that really resonates with me when it comes to scriptures is you treat others how you want to be treated, and you forgive others the way you want to be forgiven. And I am very forgiving, and I try and find my heart to be in the place of where they could be at when they have done what they have done wrong. And of course,
Yes.
some people that's very hard to do when you get into like really dark stuff. But when it comes to my own family and what I'm experiencing, I have nothing but forgiveness in my heart, and I hope that they do the same for me, which I think is a lot of their issue, is that they don't, and that's
Yeah.
why they are so troubled.
Yeah. I just want to add one more thing and I'll be done. It's a spiritual battle. You got to think when you're in that fallen state or fallen away, right? It's like a spirit made a home within you, or when you're in a fallen way, it's like you're more prone to demonic attacks. It's not a personal battle, it's a spiritual battle. It's not between us. We're God's image. It's a spiritual battle. That's the battle, is with those demons and those evil entities. That's where it's at. So that's why we shouldn't hate people. That's why we should love our enemies. You know?
Exactly, and to see that, like we've fought those same unclean spirits, so
Yep.
we know how hard it is. We each know that we had to be overcomers, and so we all reach out and hope that by the seeds that we plant, that we can help others become overcomers too, and that they would endure like we've endured, and not let these events and experiences in our life be a crutch into our life, but to give us something to look at and move forward from. So awesome, guys.
I
Yeah.
just
Can
had
y'all
one
hear
thing
me?
I wanted to add here as well. With Sarah, with your story there, when you said the eyes to see and ears to hear, one thing I've learned is you can't show something to somebody who has their eyes screwed shut. And if they've got their hands over their ears and they're going la 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 la, you can't tell them anything either, right? It has to be in divine timing for when they do open their eyes and open their ears, because otherwise, and I'm not saying to give up, never that, but you just have to kind of. It's like in boxing, you want to, like with Muhammad Ali and that phantom punch, you want to get that timing exactly right and just put in that one little shot when it opens up perfectly, and that's when you actually get the message through, right? But you got to be watching the whole time.
Yeah, you are 100% correct, because it's the same thing with addiction. You can't ever tell an addict to stop being an addict. They have to get to that place on their own. and they're not going to get to that place on their own, whether it's eyes to see and ears to hear or quitting an addiction or whatever the case may be. They have to reach that on their own. The only thing that you can ever do is lay little breadcrumbs and be there for them and show them the way. And when they're ready, they'll either, take that step or they won't. That's all we can ever do is continue to live in a sense of showcasing, like this is it, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I definitely feel where you're coming from with your family and all. You really want to show them the truth and, lead them in the right direction and path and everything. And I've gone through it with family as well, my mom especially. But my brother and my dad, I kind of feel like they're sort of lost causes. But I still have hope for my mom, even though she wants to fight me on every turn and every path that I try to show her and everything. She wants to like refute me and just like what Don was saying is like somebody put their, or might have been awkward or awesome said it, putting their hands over their ears and going la la la. I don't want to hear that. You know, I can't help it. That's what I'm been led to teach you or tell you or show you or whatever. You know, I'm gonna fulfill my end of the bargain that I say bargain, but my end of the 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 job that Yah has me to do. I'm gonna fulfill my end. Now it's up to them to hear it or not hear it. That's on them. I'm gonna do my part the best of my ability, and whether they hate me or not, that's on them. Also about forgiveness. Forgiveness is not for the person that has done us wrong. It's for us. The person that done us wrong, they might not even know they did us wrong, but it might eat us up inside if we don't forgive them. So definitely forgiveness is for us. It's for our own well-being. So we don't carry that hate and anguish through the rest of our lives. That way we can move past it and become closer to Yah. That's what's important. We can't be close to Yah with hate in our heart.
Right. If I can touch on Anthony's, it's very important for men to forgive because we need patience to be good guides and leaders for our wives, so she can receive that love from us and put it onto the children. That's how you know when a wife is really happy, is when you see her around her children and just so patient. She knows you can tell that she has a loving husband. That's just from my experience, but take it as you will.
Yeah, absolutely, and I totally agree with you there. You're gonna say something, Anthony? Go ahead.
I just said I totally agree.
Awesome.
The way it works is father, husband,
Vader.
wife, children.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I think I interrupted you. Actually, the way it's supposed to work is father, husband, wife, children. That's the way the cookie should crumble. I guess that's the way that it's supposed to be handed down. And in my opinion,
Oh, it's in the Bible actually. It's God over Christ, Christ over man, and man over woman. It's just the order. It's just how it works. It is what it is.
As
It's
a woman,
amazing
I
that way.
agree
It's
with that
beautiful.
order.
All right. Well, thank you also for your testimonies. I'll be going now and kind of letting y'all all know since I've heard all y'all stories. I'd love to share mine. Were you gonna say something, Daryl? Go ahead.
Before yeah, I want to just take this opportunity to say your brother's not in a fine place yet. And I'd just like we could pray for him that wherever he is, that he finds love and that he's willing to let God soften his heart and but that he find that and that his eyes are open and his ears are open and that he be blessed and find love.
I sincerely appreciate that, Daryl. Thank you so much. If you guys can keep him in his prayers, his name is Chance. And I sincerely appreciate that.
Amen to that for sure. All right,
Yep.
so I guess I'll start going over my story. So, like I was saying before, I heard y'all's stories, and so to kind of start with mine, I was born in Texas. My parents were married um, when I was born. They previously had both had relationships before where they were where my dad, he was married and had my oldest brother, and then my mom, she was actually date raped by a man, and that's where she had my sister. And so then my older brother was born, and then I'm the baby of the family, and then I was born. Um, and so growing up, I don't have that many memories, and I think that's a lot because of the trauma that I personally went through life. And so, I didn't really. It's kind of hard to recall those things, but so eventually, when I was around 5 or 6, we moved to Washington. My dad had a job that he was basically promised, but when we got there, we didn't have it, and he didn't have it. So we ended up having to move in. So it was me, my mother, and then my three other siblings, so four children. And we moved in with my aunt and uncle's house, and their 7 children. Now he had had a previous marriage, and he had had 3 boys, and then my aunt, that's my father's sister, she had previously had 2 girls, and then when they got married, they had my cousin Ashley. But long story short, from that caused a lot of difficulties within our family unit, and during that time, I was abused multiple times, being in that big house with all those people, and didn't know really what to take of that, and so I kind of just, as I was mentioning before, kind of suppressed those memories and kind of just moved on with life, and then after certain events with my parents that led them to their divorce. Me and my brother closest in age, and my sister all moved into a different house with my mom, and we lived there for a little bit until we eventually moved to back to Texas. And so from that point, I really didn't, even have less memory of my father. And so when we moved back to Texas, my mom had married another man, and his name was Thomas, and he was an alcoholic. He was a great man when he wasn't drinking, but when he was drinking, he was abusive, and multiple times had struck my mother in front of me, and I didn't understand it, definitely as a child, and that progressed all the way to the point where there was cops involved. He assaulted multiple police officers. My mom was drugged down two sets of floors, cobblestone stairs by her hair. All that event landed him in prison, where my mom eventually testified on his behalf and got him out, where he eventually abused her and left her basically for dead. But my aunt found her, and so I lived through that, and through that process, my dad had basically tricked my mom into giving him full custody. So he came and got us, and he had this girlfriend, and who eventually became my stepmom, and she definitely didn't have love for us like we were her children. We were an afterthought, a burden. And then I see my sister, who was my closest sibling. She got married and she had a kid out of wedlock, and then that relationship, and my mom went from man to man, and my dad went from woman to woman when while I was in each part of their lives. So that gave me a not a very good start onto how to see relationships. And so me personally, growing up, I didn't actually like really get into really any trouble because um, I was blessed with being able to see my siblings, the mistakes that they had made, and chose not to go down those same paths. But when I was around 18, there was other events in my life, and just to kind of fill that in a back a little bit, I had a hole in my heart, and I was trying to fill that, and like Don was saying earlier, he was looking for another mom because I didn't really feel like I had a mama bear that protected me and looked out for me. And so I was looking for that peace of my heart that I desired. Um, but I went from girlfriend to girlfriend to girlfriend, always trying to figure out, who I was, and I would change for that person, and I would become this almost this self-made idol of who I was supposed to be and how I was supposed to feel, and that pretty much kept going on and on. And so eventually, around when I was 18, is when I started down that path that a lot of y'all took in, and drinking and smoking pot and doing drugs, um, and it was obviously satisfying at the time, but now I look back and I just see all the wasted time that I left behind me. But kind of take another step back. What brought me into truth was in eighth grade is when I saw on live TV the second plane hit the tower, and I very much bought hook, line, and sinker into the hoorah of let's nuke them, let's just wipe that place off the face of the earth, because what type of people would do that? But I do remember watching it and just knowing something about it didn't sit right with me, and I didn't understand it, and I wasn't sure what it was. And then down later in my life, when I was still in Washington State, because I lived there from about third grade till about 22. I had this job where this lady, I don't remember her name, I don't even remember, it was a temp agency, so I don't even remember about the actual company I worked for. I could still get there if I was there, but anyways, she gave me a DVD, Freedom to Fascism, and it's about Aaron Rousseau and the Federal Reserve and the all those kind of tip of the iceberg, quote unquote, conspiracy theorists that we've all by probably now looked into, or not necessarily that video, but have done research and along the same lines. But anyways, so at a certain and so now that I kind of painted the backstory, my dad was a more of a believer of like thinking that Yeshua was probably anti-Christ, meaning that he was against Yah, he was against the Father, because of the world he saw in, and the what I like to call churchianity that he saw, where he was making 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 some pretty big judgments on who the Father and who the Son are. And he disputed that stuff. He had wanted nothing to do with it. I never saw him go to church, and that kind of weighed on me. But my nanny, my mom's mother, had always given me Bibles and been so sweet and loving to me that I did have this base of love in my life where I could look to and kind of get a better understanding of what love really is. And so, kind of to go back, not to go back, but to go forward more. Um, a girl to girl to girl. I eventually left Washington State, and I moved back to where I was born, which is Texas. And my whole goal there was pretty simple. When I was a little kid, I made a prayer, and I said, Dear Father, please, if I get anything in this life, I want a beautiful wife, not meaning just physical beauty, but um, all around beauty, and I wanted beautiful children's under that same terminology, and anything after that was blessings. So when it came to like wanting to excel and make money and be business, like none of that stuff was ever very important to me. And so I moved to Texas to find the wife. I wanted a lady, and no offense to anyone that's no, any woman out there that is not born in Texas, but I wanted a Texas lady, and I wanted to be a gentleman. And so I set my heart right. I set down some goals for myself. I wanted to make myself pure. So I was celibate. I was not doing any of the previous behavior, smoking, drinking, partying. I removed all those times from my life. I was spending a lot more time in the Word and trying to understand and grow from some of the pains that I had experienced. And I went through actually I went through 6 women, the seventh being who's now my wife, and I told myself the next woman I date is going to be my wife. And what I did is I basically put out all my cards on the table. I didn't hide anything. And I had done so because my father had told me this Socrates quote. Now I may get it a little bit wrong, but it's something along the lines of, if you always do what you've always done, then you'll always get what you've always got. And if you always get what you've always got, then you'll always feel the way you've always felt. And if you always feel the way you've always felt, then you'll always think the way you've always thought. And if you always think the way you've always thought, then you'll always do what you've always done. And another way to say that is you reap what you sow. And if you keep reaping the same thing, you're gonna keep sowing the same thing. And so I decided, like with that list and those goals, that I was going to go headlong into this focus of finding a wife, and I put that all on y'all. And so I went through 6 women. I basically said, this is who I am. This is what I want to be. This is who I'm not. This is what I want in my life. This is what I don't. And for whatever reason, the 6 previous women all rejected me. They said, no, I don't want this for one reason or the other. And then I got to who is now my wife. And I said the same thing. And she's like, that's exactly what I want. And so at that point, when I decided to make her my girlfriend, I said, the next woman who's my girlfriend, the next woman I court is going to be my wife. And so I didn't do what I've always done, and I started making different decisions, and that led to eventually us getting married. And we had our struggles, we've had our sin, we've had our ups and downs, absolutely. But we each have had that enduring spirit for each other that said, if one of us stumbles, don't turn around, don't walk away, no matter how painful it is, pull us back up. And we've stuck into that through the good times and the bad times. Now in my life, I am married. We've been married for almost 8 years, and we have 4 beautiful children. I have 3 boys, and then the oldest is my girl, my princess. And and so to kind of bring that back up with what this whole group is about, and talking about more of those important things, is um, like so many others, I thought that flat Earth was stupid. I was super prideful and knowing all these silly, reasonings and quote unquote science about the universe and the planets and the galaxies, and and thought and literally shamed others who believed in that we could possibly believe in the flat Earth. But I took that leap because I was already into conspiracies, and that led me through a whole bunch of different things. But when I came to flat Earth, I decided to give it a try one day because typically, honestly, I was bored of all the other conspiracy theories, and it didn't just click with me personally, honestly, right away. It was definitely kind of how um, AA talked about earlier, where he was saying that it's like when you're sculpting something out of stone. Like at first you're taking those big chunks, and then you get down to the detailing of it, and there's these smaller cuts, and then went through that with the flat Earth, and then once I really realized that we lived in an enclosed cosmology, that biblical cosmology, the same book I had professed to understand and love in that same prideful way before. I was able to dissolve that and then start taking Yah at his word and letting his words be true and every man's be a liar. And so that led me, after realizing we lived in biblical cosmology, I got onto the next books of the Bible, and I was like, wow, the things that he's telling us, when he's saying Passover is an eternal memorial that all generations are supposed to observe. It made me come into Torah just meaning instructions, behavior of the Father and the Son, And though I'm not perfect and I fail still to this day on many of those commandments, and though I know I will never be able to perfectly fulfill them, I strive to do. I strive to be able to come to closer understanding with the Father through mimicking and being His Son by exhibiting in His behavior. So to kind of close up my testimony. I met Anthony through Austin, which is Wits It Gets It, or Globebusters activism channel. And even and we'll get into this in other episodes for sure. So stick around for that. Me and Anthony have definitely butted heads, but the beauty in that is again iron sharpens iron, which requires the removal of materials. But we have both grown and been able to be softened to each other and to contrary views on what how we see scripture. And from all of this, it's like how beautiful it that y'all loves us so much that he gives us these brothers and this sister to come in here and love on each other and talk about each other and bounce off ideas and brainstorm, all revolving on the fact that we're enduring spirits and that we want to be soft-hearted. We want to be moldable when Yah the Father is molding us. And again, thank you all so much for giving your testimonies. And yeah, feel free to ask me questions or make any comments that you'd like to go with along with that I said.
Well, I'd like to thank you for what you've done, Vader Bear. I really appreciate everything you've done in my life, man, and for this group and for this fellowship, man, because you brought a lot to the table, man, no doubt. Just want to say thank you for that, man, and you're dearly loved, man. I think of you as a brother. Yeah, I think of you as a brother I never had, to be honest.
Well, my pleasure, brother. My pleasure indeed.
That's nice. Hey, I wanted to ask you something too, Vanderbeer. When you were going from women to women, because I experienced the same thing. Do you ever look back and think like, wow, I made women my God instead of God the Father?
Oh, 100% absolutely. I was looking for my confidence, my joy, all of those things that the Father provides us. I was looking for that in another human being instead of for my heavenly Father, and that caused me a lot of pain and strife because of that choice. But it also caused suffering, which just to mention, suffering is it can be viewed two ways. It can be viewed as an attack, or it can be viewed as a moment of teaching. Now, those that grew up with not having a real father, like I had a real father, but I definitely struggled with him in relationship, and we'll definitely get into those deeper conversations later. But
Right.
but it was hard to understand who my heavenly father was. So I was trying to first seek the physical thing, and that just broke my heart over and over.
Cool. I've been aware of that. So I've been trying to figure that out to get get males and stuff. Everybody out of that overcome. So yeah, you added two more to what I have observed.
I also wanted to say there with your message that about the with the 6 women you did things a certain way, and with the 7th you did things a different way. That was my experience here in my most recent relationship as well. Is I opened up and I just lived from the heart while I was talking with her, and while it didn't necessarily work out, I still it gave me a template for how to move forward in a more healthy way.
Absolutely, and that's all you can do is make lemonade with the lemons you're given, right? Like we're never gonna get this perfect. This episode is not perfect. Our testimonies, our connections, our relationships, none of that's perfect, but the difference is that, again, that enduring spirit to keep striving to make that perfection, even though it seems like an impossible task.
I just want to say, with all these males in this room, the energy that's in here, and just the honesty and being able to be a woman amongst men, I've learned so much from you, and you guys are great leaders. And there is this balance in here that is very rare to find with other males. And you guys do a great job of leading and teaching, and also allowing me to speak and share my heart. So I really appreciate that. It's just, I'm so grateful to have met you all and to be a part of this. So thank you.
Our pleasure, for sure. Alrighty, so we're at the an hour 40-minute mark. I think we should aim for like 2 hours. I think that's a good thing. So what I'd like to go over for the rest of the like around 20 minutes that we have is, let's talk about some of the ideas that we have for future episodes. Let's go ahead and mention those. I'll definitely take note of them, and then we can discuss it throughout the week until next Sabbath, and decide what kind of where we want to go forward. Now, this one is going to be recorded, guys, because we actually decided to do this today, and we just went forward with it, because you can only live in the now. And so the next stream will be live stream. So anyone that comes and happens to watch our video, we'd love for you to join us next week on that live chat and be able to kind of see what your thoughts are about that topic. Now, we don't know what that topic is. We're going to discuss that now for around 20 minutes, and then we'll close up, and we'll say adios till next time. So let's go ahead and if anyone wants to if anyone wants to talk about anything of what we've talked about today or testimonies, free feel to do that as well.
Right quick, Jeff, he kind of came in a little late. It's totally up to you, Jeff. Would you like to give your kind of life testimony now, or would you rather wait till later? Jeff, your mic is on mute, brother. He may not be around his phone.
It's okay. I did talk to him. I think he's going to give his testimony on another day. So he kind of gotten late. So, he didn't really have the time that we had all had to kind of think about what we want to say. And maybe he can go back and watch this and get some of those ideas of what he wants to say next time. But anyways, so where do y'all think we should kind of start? Like, I've always had this idea, and maybe y'all don't know more in depth, but I've actually made a presentation about it. Hopefully I can scrounge up, but where do we start? I kind of want to start in the beginning, and maybe we don't have to do this, y'all. Maybe we can include some stuff with this as well, not on just this topic. But I'd like to talk about the Hebrew word bereshit, which is literally in beginning, where we get the first quote unquote 3 letters of the English Bible, in the beginning, and kind of go over the pre-Babylonian letters, and kind of talk about what those mean and kind of the context of the Bible in itself. What are y'all thoughts about not only that, but what else you would maybe like to talk about in the second episode or the first episode of the real show?
Well,
If
go
I
ahead.
can say something about that, thank you, Don. Is that I 100% agree with that, and I would really love, once we go over like what the beginning means, all of that, to go over Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, and lead us into how to really look up words and what the differences are between Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 are.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was saying I'd love that, and y'all probably know a little bit more about the Hebrew language than I do. I'm just kind of learning it, but I do know a little bit about the subject, and I have kind of looked into it a little bit, and I'd love to go over that. I may not be very active chatting. I'm probably just going to listen a whole lot there. But as far as going over Genesis 1, 2, I would like to include 3 and 4 as well, because I think it all ties together.
Absolutely, and we don't have to necessarily do one episode condensing all that information into exactly one episode. We can definitely do part twos or part threes if necessary on subjects, and we can even tie that in together because I know there's a lot of differential of perspectives here, and we want to share them all. We want to give them all a voice and a platform where they can express the puzzle pieces that the Father and the pieces of wisdom that Father Abba has given us each individually, and that's part of that sharpening iron. We all have material that we need removed from us. We all have edges that need to be sharpened, and so together we'll go on this journey together and do exactly that.
I would like to add a touch to the in the beginning how extremely interesting those words are. You said bed of sheep. There's actually symbols and words that describe the first one will be the house of the highest one shall be destroyed by his own hand on the cross. I don't know if you guys ever looked into
Yeah,
that yet in the
that's
beginning.
exactly what I was talking about, and I'll show y'all some pictures, and then some examples of exactly what Don was just describing there. And there's even more than that. That's like the single sentence, but there's all these intermingling meanings within that in each picture and uh, uh, with each picture and letter that each letter in each picture that letter represents as a whole and kind of the promise that we have there. Um, so yeah, I would definitely love to incorporate those other Genesis 1, 2, 3, and 4 and that whole thing, and we can definitely separate this into multi stages. So does anyone else have anything that they'd want to tie into that into the beginning? Maybe our beginnings into flat Earth, or maybe the episode will be in the beginnings where we're all talking about things for us that was in the beginning as well as scripture from in the beginning. What do y'all think about that?
That sounds good to me. I also was thinking if we could tie in the desire to be right, because I see that a lot in the truth community today. Is people go to the truth community more like a Wikipedia page rather than a support group for our own study of mysteries and what is true. So if we could tie that in, I think that might fit as well.
I love that idea.
Yeah, it's awesome. I am going down the path of physics, right? I do use the physics and math and certain things to present the flat earth, you know. I go down to quasi monochromatics, some calculus, some fraction, just basic stuff. So I do go down that route if it ever is brought up.
Absolutely. I want to incorporate all of our strengths into this, and I want to expose all of our weaknesses um, so that we can grow from those things. And so everyone has those talents that were given to them. So let's decide not to bury those talents, and let's decide to make that those talents into more talents, so that we can present our Father with with that crown or that treasure that we've made spiritually. So,
My
uh,
favorite bit of that is exposing our weaknesses, like that snake in the grass. I love that bit. Like, yes, let's do everything we can within each other to help expose those weaknesses so that we can grow from them. I think that is also just as key as showcasing our strengths.
absolutely. And for anyone that's listening, we want you to come on that same journey with us. And we'd love to see you in chat. We would love to see you in the comment section. We'd love to even have you join us and give your testimony and be another puzzle piece into this grand puzzle piece that this grand puzzle that we're all working on together. Not only thank you to all the people that are here on the round table, But to the people who listen, thank you for spending this time with us and getting to know each of us that have taken a seat at this round table. And I hope that this round table will just keep growing and we can add more people and more voices to it, and we can all just come in here and have that excitement of every Sabbath that we know we get to come together when we can, to dote on each other and love on each other and sharpen each other. Um, so we're almost out of time. We got about 10 minutes left. I did want to kind of do something because a lot of channels out there like to incorporate some different things into their videos, and as of today, one of our roundtable participants is shared some music with us. So I want to go ahead and play his song, and maybe we can talk about it at the end and give him some critiques and criticisms that he asked for, so that we can, just to kind of to wound us down for the end of this first episode. So give me just a second. You're gonna see some changes on my screen as I get this all set up and get it ready to play.
While you're doing that, Vader Bear, I just want to say that anybody that views this video, I want you to say from the deepness of my heart, we love you. Brother, sister, whoever you may be, we love you.
If
And
you,
we all,
excuse me, if you would, Don, will you please send that link in general for me?
Which one? I got quite a bit
The
of
the song
songs.
the song that you first shared with us.
Oh yeah, definitely can.
All right, go ahead, Anthony. Sorry about that.
I was just kind of through. Whether you're a troll or not, we're going to give you 5 minutes. We're gonna extend our time to talk with you and be good to you. And we ask the same. But I just want everybody to know, anybody that views this, we love you very much.
I want to
Don't carry
second.
that hate.
Amen. Yes, I love that.
Amen.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up that video real quick, and let's go ahead and watch it.
Yahweh, Yahweh, the Holy One, Yeshua, His only begotten Son. That was nice. That was a nice one. Let's do this one right here, though. Check it.
Gotta find the strength that is deep within. You gotta seek it, don't pretend, gotta be with him. Receive the love, it's a gift, a blessing when you're born again. Then you fade away from the sin. Satan doesn't even hide, yet you can't see him. And even when we tell you why, yet you don't believe him. Master of disguise, yeah, you wanna know why. Even though your eyes are open, yet you're blind to the side. We gon' get it, yeah, we gon' get it. Yeah, the fight we had to fight with God, we win it. Yeah, return to the Father and stop repenting. Yeah, He opens up your eyes so you can see the difference. World is a mess, yeah, try your best. Walking on the earth that is at rest, like playing chess. Right or left is a test, and yes, some see you less. Some pro-life for the children that are put to death. Our Father, who art in heaven, forgive us as we forgive. We learn a lesson, you're such a blessing. You give us might, you help us fight the demons that try to find a place in our mind. You kick them out. No doubt, I'm on a road to a goal, seeking the most high that can keep me whole. I made many mistakes, yeah, long ago. His mercy is gold, yeah, it's food for the soul. If I don't have him, I don't know where to go. If I don't have him, I'm lost on the road. Give me strength, give me patience, give me persevere, make it clear. We gon' get it, yeah, we gon' get it. Yeah, the fight we had to fight with God, we win it. Yeah, return to the Father and stop repenting. Yeah, He opens up your eyes so you can see the difference. Know thy enemy and not with empathy. Don't take it personally, don't hate for anything, cause only you deal with the the suffering for you to be down when things get thin. A sober mind is a clear mind. You define lines when you see it's time that now you're fine to let your ego go. Be still and know God, cause God really knows when things start to fold. Stuck in me, standing there with the gaze. You don't know where to go, like you can see your faith. You haven't moved your legs, you haven't picked the way. Don't just stand there and go, that's really okay. Put your faith into God, not into Ra, which is the wizard of Oz, hiding behind the curtain of mind with the image that isn't divine, isn't benign. Things you will find, it's really Satan the whole time. Free your mind, you'll find we gon' get it, yeah, we gon' get it. Yeah, the fight we had to fight with God, we win it. Yeah, return to the Father and stop repenting. Yeah, 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 yeah. He opens up your eyes so you can see the difference. Yeah.
Awesome, dude. That was so good. That I'm really honored to be able to meet you today and be able to play that out. And now, if anyone that heard the song would love to talk about it, let's go ahead. I'll start real quick and then y'all can follow me. I think that your lyrics are great, your beat is great. Um, I think that you're kind of underestimating yourself, and I think you have a lot more that you can say. Um, and like there was a comment before off the air, but when we were getting this set up, that it kind of sounds like Bone Thugs. I love Bone Thugs, and I think they're filthy, and I think you have that talent to spit like they do, and I would love to even work with you or just hear more of your stuff, which I'll definitely check out. But so far, what I listened to, dude, I think you're definitely on the right track, and you're gonna make some fat tracks.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I can't do it. I'm only good at it if I have the father, right? I was pretty horrible when I was in that falling away, but I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it, but it's all because of God. I'm gonna be honest.
I got a second Vader Bear. I'm not even a rap fan, man, and I loved it, bro. I think it rivals people like West Blaze and ODD. Uh, I think it's great. I think it's very, very well done.
I appreciate that, Anthony. Appreciate that. Yeah, I just do it so give somebody something to listen to. I really can care less about getting big or anything about that. That's not even my goal. It's just so somebody can have substance to listen to.
I think there's
Yeah, I
some.
also. Oh,
No,
go
go ahead.
ahead, Sarah.
No,
I was
you
just
go.
gonna say I was just gonna say I really appreciated that. It was awesome. It's always nice to expand the music that I listen to, and especially if there's such a positive message in it.
I was gonna say likewise, and I mean, I was a rapper back in my younger days as well, and just music in general. I have always loved and have been drawn towards, and the music you hear these days is just it's unlistenable. So to have any kind of content is amazing, but to hear that it goes above and beyond. So keep creating, please.
I appreciate that, Shine. Hey, might have to get you on a hook or something one day.
I would love that.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for that. So we're coming down to it. We're gonna wind it down. So if y'all don't mind, I'm not huge into kind of saying prayers out loud, and no offense to those who do, but I definitely want to say a prayer in closing, just as a request, as a demand to Abba. So if y'all don't mind, I'll go ahead and do that. So I'd just like to say, dear Heavenly Father, dear Abba, we just come to you and we thank you for giving us these brothers and this sister in our life, Lord. And we ask that you would continue to do so, that you would continue to bring people into the fold, give them a seat to pull up to this round table, Lord, and to share their puzzle pieces and help sharpen as we hope to help sharpen each other. Um, Father, I just pray that you would be with us all, Lord, as the week goes on, that you would give us a mind to back to this round table, Lord, that we could dwell on the things that we want to talk about, and in so grow deeper in love and connection and relationship with you. And I hope that you would just continue to bless all the people who are not only at this table, but those who are to come to this table. And and we just want to say you have all the praise and all the glory. You're the only one that deserves worship, and we pray and we hope all of these things in your Son's holy mighty name, Yeshua Hamashiach. Amen.
Amen to that, brother. Very well done.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Definitely. Yeah, yeah.
All right, so that's going to close us out just about 5 seconds from the hour. We love you, and until next time, remember that Abba loved you first.